Okay, Florida Gators. It's going to be a tough week. SEC East champs. Very well coached football team. Great talent. Unbelievable defensive personnel. Got a good offensive mind and their new head coach. And I tell you what a turnaround they've had for a great 2015 season. I mean, they've done a great job, motivating those players to come out and play well. And of course, winning the East. They've got to be feeling really good about themselves, and they're certainly not going to overlook South Carolina. They know they've got to finish strong, and we know what a challenge it's going to be for us to take on their football team this week.
Shawn, you mentioned Florida's defense. Just what do you guys try to do to try to limit that pass rush? Is it just adding more guys to the line, or putting a fullback up there, or what? How do you try to limit those guys?
Oh, you don't get in those types of situations, and certainly you're going to get in a few of them. But you've got to not experiment, but you've got to move the pocket. You've got to do some other protections. Your simple drop back 5- and 6-man protection is not going to be good enough against a talented group of guys that come off the football can rush the passer like that. So, we've got to be creative. Texas A&M had a good pass rush, and I thought we had a pretty good plan for those guys. I don't think their two ends were all that destructive, so to speak. I think we gave up 2 there at the end, but it wasn't because of their pass rushing ability at that time. So moving the pocket, play actions, draws, of course, do a lot of good for that stuff. So we'll have a plan, and we'll be able to hopefully not control it, but somewhat handle that great rush.
Over to the left now.
After Casey Crosby and Jonathan Walton get in on that kind of heavy package you guys use, what is sort of the process you guys as a staff do in terms of looking down the roster and seeing guys that you might want to, I guess, almost pluck up for bigger roles, like maybe those 2 Hayden Hurst, Kyle Markway types?
I mean, as a coach, you evaluate players, whether they're offensive or defensive. I mean, I evaluate our defensive line when I was the line coach, our linebackers, our secondary, and I said, man, he'll be a great fullback, or he'll be a great tight end, or, this guy might be better suited to this position. Early in the year, I think back in the summer, actually all the way back in the spring, Darius English wasn't a big contributor over there on defense. I said, well, put him at tight end. We got a guy over there that's long and lean. He's one of the strongest players on the team. Just because he's not generating a strong play over there at this point doesn't mean we can't utilize him over here on the offensive side. So I think that's what you got to do. You've got to try to take your best players and put them in the best position to go out there and be successful. And, it may be someone different this week. I hope so.
Shawn, does it seem like you've spent this entire season on the road?
It really does. It's been a tiring season. To come back and finally realize you got 3 home games left starting this week at Florida, you say, wow, what happened earlier in the year? And, playing in Charlotte, and then you had the LSU. It doesn't even seem like we've been here. It's really just been kind of an odd season in that sense. But we're glad to be back at home. So excited. I think in the last couple of weeks we've brought a little bit of excitement back to our fan base. Or so it seems, and I think they're hungry to see us play again. I think they're anxious to see us play in Williams-Brice Stadium against a great Florida football team, and I want those guys to be here and be. I mean, I'd love it to be sold out, and I'd love it to be as loud as can be. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday, and I think we all need it.
Shawn, some coaches, Frank Beamer was always known for it, place a big emphasis on blocking punts and blocking place kicks. What's your philosophy with regards to how much you emphasize that type of thing?
Yeah, I think they're all important. In the spread punt these days, the blocking of the punt has become, I won't say non-existent, but a little bit tougher than it has in the past when you normally lined up in the tight formation and had people just line down and rush the football or rush the punter. Now that we're in spread, you can rugby style, you can roll out, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But there's a strong emphasis on, taking points off the board on a field goal or extra point attempt. when I was the line coach, I used to tell them it's one of the most important plays that you can be on. It's a scoring opportunity play. And I was stressing to us how important the protection was, but in a sense of blocking it can change the game. I mean, a blocked field goal or extra point can take a touchdown momentum, and just the elimination of the extra point can flip it.
Shawn, how's the health of the team of Harris, Johnson, Stallworth, and Neal? All got kind of banged up last week.
Yeah, we're getting better. Harris is coming around, DJ's coming around. I don't think Stallworth will be back for us this week. He'll probably be out another week. But all in all, our team is just ready to get back and play. A little bit tired. We've had 3 tough weeks. They've played really, really physical football, I think, at practice and in our 2 games. Actually, we conditioned last night and took a little bit of the practice aspect off of it for those guys, and they were appreciative in that matter. But we've got to come out and have a good week, and I think we'll be right for Saturday.
What was your reaction to what happened at Missouri this weekend and yesterday?
Josh, I haven't given it a whole lot of thought. There's so many things going on here in South Carolina that I've got to focus on, and we've got to focus on. I haven't given it a whole lot of thought. I really, other than what's going on with our football team, I very rarely have time to think about anything else. So I haven't given that much thought at all.
Would what Gary Pinkel did be something you feel like you wanted to address with your team at any point, your players, given the football aspect of that thing?
I don't know enough about it to even comment on it. If I knew the facts and knew some other stuff, it would be easy for me to give a thought. But for me to do that without knowing the facts and everything involved probably is not good.
Shawn, so Harris, is it not a separated shoulder then, or is it a separated shoulder? Do you know?
Well, they classified it as a dislocated shoulder at the time. You can go in there and put those things back in fairly quickly, so it's not dislocated any longer.
Now, Taylor, you talked about a chest injury. Is that at all related to the pectoral issue he had in the spring, or is that something different?
Just something different. Yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
And one more, we've asked you a lot about wrinkles the last couple of weeks. I mean, do you have more of those you can pull out of your hat going forward, or how close are you to maximizing what you can get out of this pack?
We've got wrinkles now. It's like a Matlock equipment wash. Our shirts and stuff come out. We've got wrinkles. I mean, it really is. And nothing against Chris Matlock, but we pull out our shirts and there's wrinkles everywhere all the time, and we always laugh. But we love him to death. But yeah, we're just having fun and trying to create some new ideas. And you call it a wrinkle, I call it an idea, but we're just going to go with it and see where it puts us. Our little wrinkle last week put us in a pretty good situation. We probably should have had, we went for it on 4th down the first time in our package with Walton and Crosby in our 3-back set, and it's so many people, when I stop at a gas station or something, they say, "Oh, that 4th down play, what were you thinking running it up the middle?" I said, "Well, it wasn't supposed to go up the middle. It was supposed to go to John Walton for a touchdown right there if we'd have thrown it." But that didn't happen. But our wrinkles worked out pretty well. We got the touchdown call later on to him, and we'll continue to add some stuff.
Kind of playing off Rick's question, and you've called it special before, but when you're explaining Williams-Brice to people that are from this area, what do you say? What makes Williams-Brice so special in your mind?
The people, the Gamecock fans. That's the number one thing. The fan base creates Williams-Brice, and it has ever since I've grown up coming to football games, through thick and thin, wins and losses. The energy and the passion that these fans have for Carolina football and Carolina athletics in general is what sets us apart. And there's a lot of stadiums across the country. I mean, and you don't want to talk about other fan bases, of course, but we've been in some pretty big stadiums the last few weeks. And these Carolina fans, they know how to do it. They know how to do it right. So we're hoping they're going to do it right Saturday.
How much progress have you seen from Connor Mitch just in terms of his comeback, and do you expect he might contribute at some point before the end of the season?
Well, I certainly expect him to contribute. I don't know where it might be. He's coming along. He's coming along. Anytime you sit out for that length of time, I mean, first of all, physically, strength-wise, conditioning-wise, it takes a toll on you. You actually do nothing until that injury actually heals to get back in the swing of things. But we always have a plan for somebody to contribute, and his plan is right there as well. Connor's a fine player. He's a good quarterback, and he's going to be able to lead this football team again. I'm not sure when it might happen, but he'll be ready, and he's kept his head up and done a great job. And we fully expect him, when his number's called, to go out there and do it.
Shawn, Josh Dobbs had a lot of success on third and long passing downs last week. Just overall the season, what do you think the biggest issue has been with USC's pass rush?
Well, you look at the guys out there, and sometimes I think we read the offensive play more so than getting off the football and getting up the field and just saying, hey, I'm getting around the three tech or the right guard or the left guard or pressing that 5 technique. You see them to peek in the backfield, looking for the quarterback draw, playing tentative at times. I think they got to let it loose a little bit more. I told Dante out there, I believe the right guard at Tennessee had gotten hurt, and their backup had come into the game. I said, listen, you got to take advantage of this guy. We got to work an edge. We got to work him upfield, underneath, whatever. You got to scare him to death if you have to. But let's don't try to react off the play. Let's get the pass rush. You know what they're going to do. It's either draw or drop back. So just get up the field and then react. But we're working on it to improve. Coach Adams is doing everything he can to get those guys better, whether it may be some twist game stuff and in practice to get them to kind of pick and help each other out in a pass rush scheme. But we're doing everything we can.
Shawn, South Carolina's beaten the SEC East champion 3 out of the last 4 years. Have a chance to do it 4 out of 5 this year. Does your team take any extra pride in that?
I don't think so. I think they take pride in winning and going out and playing a good football team. Anytime you can measure yourself to a really good football team, I mean, you're setting the stage up, hey, this may be the best left tackle you're going up against or the best defensive end. How are you going to stack up individually? And I think that's the same way our team looks at it. We've got a great opportunity to go out and put a good showing up against a great football team with a heck of a head coach and staff and just see exactly where we are. And when you look at us the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when you go to Vanderbilt and to A&M and to Tennessee, we've stacked up pretty well. We haven't gotten over the hump, but we're knocking on the door, and somebody's going to answer it shortly. So our team, we feel like we can match up.
And Florida still has a chance to win a national championship this year. There's another team left on your schedule that might have the same thing. The idea of playing spoiler, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think in those teams that say, hey, let's go play spoiler, that's kind of a joke to me. Our goal is to win football games. It doesn't matter what they're ranked or how successful they are. We're to go out and compete, and any man with a competitive spirit wants to go out there and win, and that's the bottom line for us taking to the field. The spoiler hasn't even come up, shouldn't even come up. We don't play that way. If we're able to go out and win, be successful, and do the things necessary, it's because we're prepared to beat the team in front of us, not because they're the number 7th ranked team or the number 1 ranked team.
Both you and Coach McElwain have coaching backgrounds at the FCS level. Of course, he spent about 15 years in the Big Sky Conference. Of course, you coached in the Southern Conference with App State. How did coaching at that level prepare you for being a head coach here at the Power 5 conference level?
At that level, you do everything. You do everything. When I say everything, I was the O-line coach. I was the walk-on coordinator. I ran the summer camps. I was the academic liaison. At times, I was the equipment manager. Sometimes I drove the bus. I mean, you do so much, and so many are dependent upon you. You don't take it for granted. So when you jumped into this situation like I was at the spur of the moment, like I said, I've been planning to do this my entire career. It didn't matter what level I was coaching at. But while I was at Appalachian State, I had all those things. And I always thought it was going to come back and help me because you can relate to so many people. When you go sit over there across from the dean of students and talk to them about an academic situation or the housing, and talk to them about roommates and pairing them up and how you want to do that in a dorm situation. And you can get housing, academics, athletics, And then you got food services you've got to go deal with, about 2-a-day meals. So we didn't have all that. When you can coordinate those type of people and put them all together and formulate a great successful plan, then that certainly helps you. And I think it was right on target for me.
Shawn, after the third quarter in Knoxville, you mentioned in postgame that y'all didn't make a lot of adjustments, simply that the guys maybe elevated their level of play a little bit. I'd like you to, at least if you could, share maybe what you say to them at halftime. And as a part B, are there guys on the ball club that you lean upon to maybe provide that internal motivation as they get back out on the field?
Well, you go in, you talk about the first half mistakes and what we need to do to correct the mistakes. And then as it lingers on, you get more towards the motivational, and then you bring your team together and you pinpoint what exactly could have been had we had done this. You may point out a defensive scheme or the fourth down play that we didn't throw it to Walton on. You say, look at it, guys. It's 17-3 right here. We've squandered a fourth down opportunity. We've given up 2 easy drives in the first 2 possessions of a game. I said, other than that, this team's just, they're not just overly powering us out there today. I said, if we go and minimize our mistakes and we put forth the best effort that we can, we're going to get ourselves right back in the ball game. And I may have referenced it before. You've got to see the players' eyes. You've got to let them know. When I say you've got to see their eyes, you've got to look them in the eyes. And they've got to believe in what you're telling them. You can't have a guy over in the back corner here thinking about, something else. We're down 17-3. If you engage that football team, and I mean really engage them with your eyes, and you can look at them across the room, and you can feel they believe in what you're saying, then you've got a good chance to go out. And when we gathered them up right before the second half, there wasn't an eye looking down, looking over, tying a shoe. They all were pinpoint right there. I mean, they looked at me straight in the eye, and they believed everything I told them. And then we went out and did it. And that's something you can really tell. You can always look at a football team and see how sincere they are about going and doing the plan that you've created for them.
After you watched Florida on film, how impressed did you come away with the way that Jim McElwain was able to bring his offense on and install it with, the available personnel, and then redo it with, a second quarterback midway through the year? And also, how important are their tight ends to kind of what they try to do?
Coach McElwain's a very successful coach. There's a reason why he was hired at the University of Florida. He's a great offensive mind. Florida's got great athletes. Don't let anyone tell you they don't. They've got them everywhere, from their wide receivers up front to their O-line. They may not have a ton of offensive linemen at this time, but they've got quality backs, great receivers. Will Greer was the quarterback, came in there, was real successful. Now you got Treon Harris leading the way. Defensively, they've got players. Their tight ends are certainly important. Depending on what their scheme is, whether it's the down blocking, the waggles, the naked bootlegs, putting pressure on maybe an undersized linebacker at times. He's done a magical job. But the one thing he's done is got them believing they can be good, and I think it's through a lot of tough love. And in the same sense, he had to bring them back and tell them it was going to get better. And I won't say they bought in because he didn't have to sell it, but he's a great leader and done a great job for them.
Throughout the season, it seems like this team has played better in the second half. Kind of a weird statistic that you've trailed at halftime of 8 games and been tied at 1. Is there something to that with the first half, and whether it's struggles or not being prepared or focused on the players that you feel you need to correct?
No, they just had some hot starts against us. Saturday was probably, you look at us from a defensive standpoint, we made a safety change right there, and we gave up a big play on a touchdown pass that he should have been right there waiting for. Maybe it was just an instance that he was, I won't say not prepared, but just caught him off guard a little bit. Sometimes they go out there and they try to make too much so early in a football game, and then it doesn't kind of correlate. We've talked about yesterday starting strong. We understand our our ball game this week. We've got to start strong and finish strong as well, and put together consistent 4 quarters. And in doing that, it's got to be from a coaching standpoint, a player standpoint, and from a personnel standpoint, and have the right plays called. But we've addressed it. We're going to try to correct it. We've got this game and 2 others left. I think you'll see a faster starting football team. Anything else for Coach Elliott? All right. Thank you all very much. I would like to say, I believe it was the City of Columbia police officer, Stacy Case, lost her life, and then, the University of South Carolina police officer, Officer Bolin, was injured in that accident. That's a tough situation. Our heart goes out for her family and then for Officer Bolin as well. But we all heard about it. It was a terrible situation, and just let their families know that the University of South Carolina Gamecock football program is thinking about those guys. Thank you all.